Coach Dana here, and today we're going to be talking about the principles of training. So we're going to try and rush through these principles quite quickly, just give you guys a basic definition and maybe a few examples. So the first one is the principle of individuality, which just means that everyone is different and therefore training should be different. So the training for you will be different for someone who is, let's say, middle-aged, a child, or even your grandma. So the next principle is the principle of specificity, which just means that you're trying to train for what you want to achieve. So for an example, you are a sprinter, then you wouldn't necessarily be training to be a long distance runner. Or if you're a weightlifter, you wouldn't want to try and train to be a rower. So the training that you must do must be specific for the goals that you want to achieve. The principle of overload. So this one is normally combined with the principle of progression, but let's just separate that for now. In order for you to achieve a certain goal, you have to be placed upon some sort of resistance or some sort of load. The greater the stimulus that you are under, your body will then adapt to become stronger. You can achieve overload by basically creating more challenges in your exercises. This could really vary, so you could actually make slower reps, add more weight, or make the exercise just harder. There's actually more ways for you guys to achieve overload, but that's just a simple example. So the principle of progression, which just means that the training stimulus must actually gradually increase over time. Your training has to become harder over time. Otherwise, you won't really adapt or become stronger if you're just going to be doing the same thing. A great way to remember the principle of progression and overload is just to train harder than you did last time, okay? So the best way to explain the principle of diminishing returns is through an example. If you have an athlete who has been training for a few years versus someone who has never trained before, the person who is untrained will actually see more benefits and can gain more benefits through the training program than someone who is actually trained. Of course, the person who is trained can of course work on other components of fitness that are their weak points. The more experience that you have, the less likely you guys will see results. If an athlete nears their genetic potential, then most likely the gains that they're trying to get through training are very little. Unlike someone who is untrained, then the potential for their gains is a lot more. Principle of reversibility, which just means that if you don't use it, you lose it. When a training stimulus is taken away from someone, or if you stop training or lessen the training intensity, then your body actually goes back to how it was before it got any of the training benefits. So for example, if you have been training before quarantine and then you stop training during quarantine, when you start training again, you obviously will not be at that fitness level that you were before quarantine. Depending on the situation, if you try and stop or reduce training intensity for maybe around 4 to 6 weeks, you may go back to how you were before you started training. But you can of course stop this by continuing to train at least 2 times a week. So therefore, you'll try to be in maintenance mode. So yeah, that was a very simple explanation of the 6 principles of trainings. Other books and references of course have more or less and are of course more detailed, but you guys can of course read that. So this is more of an easier way to understand everything. Alright, so that's it for today guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!